Hi, Alexa. How are you today?
I'm doing good.
Good. Is there anything specific you want to talk about today?
I've kind of been getting into some arguments with my boyfriend, and I think that's something that I'd like to focus on.
Yeah, we can totally focus on that. I'm going to go over our agenda for today really quick, and then we can kind of get into what's going on with you and your boyfriend, okay? How does that sound?
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome. So we're going to kind of go over what brings you in, what your emotions are, and kind of how you've been feeling lately. We're going to get into a little bit more of a guided discovery where we're going to look at kind of specific thoughts and emotions and actions you're having related to an event. Then we'll move on to doing a negative automatic thought record. We're going to then do some Socratic techniques to kind of work on examining those negative automatic thoughts and the evidence for and against them, as well as some possible alternatives. And we'll wrap everything up with setting kind of a goal for next session and getting some homework. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, it sounds like a good idea. It sounds like we'll have a lot to get done.
We do have a lot to get done, so let's get started. So you said that you've been having some arguments with your boyfriend. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so my boyfriend and I are long distance. My boyfriend Joe, he goes to school an hour away, so it can be really difficult because we're both really busy and we always like want to make as much time to see each other as we can, and that can be like a point of stress for us just because it can be very difficult for our schedules to line up. And we had made plans to see each other one weekend, and we had made these plans like probably a month in advance. And then a couple days before we were supposed to see each other on the weekend, he texted me and he was like, "Hey, I forgot that I had plans with my friends. Like, can we change our schedule?" And at first I was like, "Yeah, that's fine." And then I got really upset by it, and we ended up getting into an argument about it.
I can understand how that could be a little bit frustrating for you. You'd already set these plans and you'd kind of already made your schedule around those, and then to have him change them last minute could be really frustrating. What were
Mm-hmm.
some emotions that you were kind of experiencing when he was saying wanting to change the plans?
I was really upset. I was kind of caught off guard because, like I said, we had set these plans for a long time. And once I have like set a schedule, I kind of like to stay with it. And I have a hard time like changing something once I've committed to it. So, and he knows that too. So, like for him to ask me, I just felt like a little bit surprised and maybe like taken aback a little bit because I kind of felt like his other plans were like more important than what we had been planning to do when he said that to me.
Yeah. And what specific thoughts were going through your head?
I was just thinking that like, he wanted to hang out with the other people more than he wanted to hang out with me, and that he didn't want to see me, or maybe that he didn't want to spend time with me. Yeah.
So, what I'm hearing is that you have a specific kind of negative automatic thought that he doesn't want to hang out with me. He doesn't want to see me. He doesn't want to hang out with me. Do you feel like that's true?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It can be really hard, especially when we don't see each other, because then like if we miss an opportunity, it just kind of like reinforces that idea that like he doesn't want to see me, or else he would have made time to do it.
Yeah, I can understand that. We're going to hold on to that thought, and I'm going to share my screen with you right now so that we can kind of talk that through a thought record. Have you ever completed a thought record before?
No, I haven't.
Okay, well, we're going to go through this kind of slow and we'll go through every step of it together. We're just going to do the before section right now. Okay.
Okay.
So, our specific event that we're going to do is kind of that your boyfriend changed plans on you unexpectedly, because that sounds kind of
Hmm.
like the root of this problem.
Yeah, he said this to me while I was in class, and it was kind of distracting because I was like really caught off guard by it.
Okay. Okay. And for one of your negative automatic thoughts, you said he does not want to hang out with me.
Hmm.
Out with me. I kind of heard that there's something he wants to do instead.
Hmm.
And he'd rather hang out with other people.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Those sound right?
Hmm.
Okay, let's talk a little bit about the believability of each of these thoughts. How much do you believe that he doesn't want to hang out with you?
Maybe like a 6 or a 7.
A 6 or a 7?
Hmm.
Okay. And there's something he wants to do instead of seeing me.
Again, maybe like a 7.
Okay. And he'd rather hang out with other people.
I'm gonna give that one a 9 or a 10.
Okay. So it sounds like even our little bit lower thoughts, we're still kind of feeling, that these are pretty true to ourselves, that
Hmm.
these are accurate representations of what's going on. Yes?
Yeah.
And that's got to be really hard. We don't want to feel this way, especially about someone that we're in a relationship with.
Hmm.
Let's talk about some of the emotions that you were listing. You said that it kind of stressed you out a bit.
Yeah. So, like I said, it was really unexpected to hear it, and then also like I was busy when I got this news, so I kind of just like felt my heart sink to my stomach. It's like my chest just felt really heavy, and I had a hard time like concentrating on what I was trying to do.
Yeah. Let's go through and rate the intensity of these emotions. It sounds to me like you're saying your heart kind of sinking to your stomach and your heavy chest were your most significant feelings. What would you rate those
Yeah,
on a scale of 1 to 10?
I would think that like the heart sinking to my stomach and like heavy chest are like kind of connected, so I think I would give both of those like a 9 or a 10.
Yeah, that's kind of what it seemed like to me as well. Like those were pretty significant emotions that you were feeling, and kind of the
Hmm.
key emotions that we pulled out of what you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
How did you respond to these thoughts and emotions? What did you say or do in this situation?
Hmm. Well, like I said, at first I was trying to like stay calm and be reasonable because um like I do understand that he had these other plans first, but since I wasn't able to like talk about it immediately since I was busy doing something else, it kind of just escalated a little bit into an argument, um, which obviously is not ideal, but in the moment I didn't really have time to like sit and think about it, and I was just really upset, so I kind of just acted on those emotions.
Yeah, I think it made sense that you kind of tried to stay calm, and it really didn't help that this came at a time where you were really busy already. And so you didn't really have
Hmm.
the chance to process through what was going on.
Hmm. Yeah, it was really inconvenient.
What do you feel like the outcomes of that argument were?
I know it was really frustrating for both of us because I was upset that our plans had to change, and he was upset that he felt like he couldn't like reasonably ask me to change our plans. Like it wasn't for a bad reason, but I think we both just left the argument or the conversation we had about this like not feeling as good about it as we could have.
Yeah, I understand that. Fighting with a significant other, especially when you guys don't get to see each other very often, can be really stressful and frustrating, upsetting. And it sounds like you didn't felt like you were being heard and he didn't felt like he was being heard, and that can be really difficult.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a good interpretation of what happened.
Yeah. So we have our before section kind of filled out now. I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. And I just kind of want to talk about, how do you feel now that we've talked about it a little bit more?
I still don't feel great about it, because, like I said, it can be really difficult for me to change my plans. So, like looking back on it, it just like brings up some of that old frustration because it feels like I maybe didn't really resolve it that great.
Yeah, that's understandable. And that's kind of where we're going to get into this second exercise now. And we're going to kind of examine the evidence for the thoughts that we're having. So let me reshare my screen. So I've got this worksheet up now. And this one we're going to do this worksheet together again, similar to how we did the last one. And we're kind of just
Mhm.
going to talk about evidence that supports our thoughts and evidence that's against our thoughts. So I'm just going to go
Okay.
ahead and put the same negative automatic thought that we had last time that was kind of
Mhm.
a center of your record. He doesn't want to hang out with me. I'm going to go ahead and put that you believed that at about a 6 or a 7.
Okay.
So let's talk this through a little bit. What's some evidence that kind of supports that thought right now?
I would say that the main thing is that, he canceled our plans.
Yeah. In the end, he did cancel the plans and you guys didn't get to hang out when you planned.
Mhm. Yeah, and then like another one I had thought of was that he's gonna hang out with other people instead.
Yeah, and I can understand you kind of feel like maybe you weren't as important to hang out with at this moment.
Mhm.
Let's talk about, and this might be kind of hard to come up with, so we can talk through a couple different examples. Kind of what is some evidence that doesn't necessarily support this thought?
Well, he did invite me to join him and his friends in their plans, but I kind of felt weird about that because I kind of felt like I was just like being invited to tag along, but he did like sincerely invite me to join them.
Yeah. I I can understand that. Like you really felt like kind of almost like you were third wheeling in that kind of a situation.
Yeah.
It doesn't, it still sounds like he did still want to hang out with you though. He was just trying to make everybody happy.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we did also afterwards like end up rescheduling. I guess just like the hard thing was I still keep thinking that like if he did want to see me, then he would have. So like, yeah, there is some stuff for evidence against. It's just kind of difficult to like get past that.
Yeah, of course. Let's kind of talk about, do you feel like your thought is valid or do you think it's invalid at this point after going through kind of our evidence for and our evidence against? Where are you feeling now?
Um, I mean, like looking at it now, I definitely can say that like it's not valid, but I think before this, even as I was reflecting on it myself, I had a really hard time seeing that. And I think that I'm not sure if like looking at the things against my thought are really super helpful for me and like making me feel better about it.
Yeah, well, this gives us the opportunity to kind of do, I know me and my worksheets, but this gives us the opportunity to kind of do a different worksheet and talk about, some alternative explanations and
Okay.
alternative options.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, there it is. And we've kind of gone over our event and our negative automatic thought. I'm just going to go ahead and throw those back in there so that we have them there to see. He does not want to hang out with me. And our key emotion was going to be, and the emotions that you ranked highest was a heavy chest and heart sinking to your stomach.
Yeah, I think it was just like those were like my overall things of like just feeling very sad.
Yeah. And the behavior or consequence of your thoughts and emotions was that it started an argument between you and your boyfriend, and you both left feeling frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, that's not what we want to have happen in the very end. We don't want to be
Mm-hmm.
frustrated. Okay. So, our current explanation of kind of everything that happened is he'd rather hang out with other people than spend time with me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Let's talk about some possible alternative explanations. So what we're going to do here is kind of talk about what were some things that we're going to try and step into his shoes. What are some things that he might have been thinking in the moment?
I mean, I think it was probably really difficult for him to say this to me because he did seem like he did seem like he felt bad to have to change our plans, just because
Yeah.
he knew I was looking forward to it. So he made an effort to like reschedule something else that would work for me, and like really was even like saying like, oh, I'll come home or something like that, which can be hard for him to do since, like I said, he's away at school. But he did make an effort to like reschedule and do something else instead.
Yeah. So let's talk about our current explanation is he'd rather hang out with other people besides me. What are some alternative explanations that might make us feel better about what happened?
I think the thing that like probably would like make me feel the best about it is that he didn't really like tell me not to come. Like he did invite me to come with them, and I think that's probably like the best alternative explanation. I was just like kind of uncomfortable with that, but I mean, it's not really his fault that I'm uncomfortable with that because he did make like a genuine effort, and that's like I would say a pretty good solution.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like a good solution to me too. And maybe in a future session, we can kind of work on those feelings of not really wanting to spend time around your boyfriend's friends. And we can talk through those emotions and those thoughts and feelings at another time. How does that?
Okay. Yeah, that sounds good.
Okay. Okay. So, what do you think? Let's talk through a few more alternatives. Do you have any other
Mhm.
thoughts that might explain the situation?
Um, well, yeah, he said that he had forgot that he made these other plans, which I understand. So like they had these plans a really long time ago, and as it got closer, like it came back up. So that's when he remembered, which like I understand. I forget when I have appointments and stuff, so I can see where he's coming from.
Yeah. That's understandable. What about
Hmm.
kind of the thought, and this is just kind of based on what you've said and some of the evidence that we had talked about before, but it sounds like he did still want to see you ultimately, just maybe at another time.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. It just seems like
Hmm.
he did, since you guys did end up rescheduling those plans, that could be a
Hmm.
possible alternative explanation.
Yeah, I think that you're right. It might just be hard for me to see that myself.
Yeah. Well, now we're going to talk about what do you think is your most, which do you think alternative explanation is most likely? Like which one do you like the best? I kind of highlighted which one you
Hmm.
said, but do you still feel that after coming through to the other ones?
I think I actually like the one that you pointed out last. Is that he still wanted to see me just another time.
Yeah. What Okay, now we're going to talk through this kind of similar to how we had done with our thought record. What kind of
Hmm.
alternative emotion fits with that thought?
Um, I think if I put myself back into that situation and I was able to like think of this at the time, I would feel a lot more calm and like trusting of the situation. I think I would have felt a lot better and probably wouldn't have reacted the way that I did.
Yeah. And how do you think you would have reacted?
I think that we probably would have just agreed, like, yeah, let's just change the plans, and then we wouldn't have gotten into a fight, and neither of us would have left feeling frustrated.
It sounds like that might have been the best option. However, I can
Hmm.
understand in the moment, there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of thoughts going through our head. There's a lot of emotions that we're feeling. And it can be really hard to sort those things out and kind of take a step
Hmm.
back and think through things. Now that we've had time to think through kind of some alternatives and through some alternative emotions, how are you feeling about the situation?
I definitely feel a lot better about it looking at it this way because, like I said, it was hard for me to look through this lens like by myself. I guess when I was recalling the events, I just kept getting upset and like having those same initial feelings that I had like when it actually occurred. Like I was still feeling very sad, and it was really hard for me to like see anything outside of that. I was just very like set in the same like thoughts. that I had about it at first.
Yeah, but now we're kind of seeing that when we're having these really intense negative automatic thoughts, that there could be other explanations to what's going on that we just might not be seeing in the moment.
Yeah, I thought that this worksheet was really helpful because, like I said, I've tried to like think about it myself and reflect on it, but I think with like the guidance, it was easier to like point out specific things, whereas like before it was kind of hard to think about it abstractly.
Yeah, and I love this is one of my favorite techniques for kind of getting to the bottom of things and really kind of trying to think through what were some alternatives, what were some different thoughts that we could have come up with, and how would that then affect our emotions and consequences down the line. So actually what we're going to do is for as we kind of wrap up this session, for your next session, I'm going to have you fill out the negative automatic thought record, the before part by yourself. Think of any event that happens this week that kind of gets you a little bit worked up. Go ahead and fill out that top part by yourself. And we're going to kind of go through these two exercises again, just to get you really comfortable with thinking through alternative explanations and examining the evidence of those thoughts so that eventually you'll have this tool that you can do on your own in the moment. How does that sound?
Okay. Yeah, I think that sounds like a good idea.
And maybe
I
we
think
could
it would
talk
be
about, oh, sorry.
that's okay. I was just going to say I think it would be helpful to like have more practice on it and be able to work on it on my own too.
Yeah, and maybe we can talk about a little bit about those emotions that you're feeling about maybe hanging out with his friends as well.
Mhm.
Okay, well, Alexa, I hope that this session was helpful for you and that we started talking about some good tools that we can use in the moment. And we're going to get better and better at practicing those skills so that eventually you can use those on your own. I hope you have a great rest of your week and I'll see you next session.